Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. Thank you for spending time with us. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hey, good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Marching into March here. So,
Yes,
in
it's
our last
midterm week.
bit
Ooh,
already, okay.
oh my goodness. Halfway through the second half. That means we're three-quarters of the way through the year. Oh my goodness.
And then spring break, I guess, right? So, soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
In our last episode, we focused on your comments to NHTSA on the proposal for a new United Nations global technical regulation on automated driving systems. And you're linking in your latest newsletter to the range of comments that have been submitted and kind of urging people to take a look.
Yes, it is. It is a range. I think there have been, at least last time I looked, 53 comments. I think they've extended the comment period from February 23rd to March 10th or something like that. I think there's still time for people to put in a comment. You should comment. Why not? I mean, if I can comment, you can comment. I think the more comments, in some sense, the better. And what I did was, just to help everybody, especially, I mean, one of the reasons I put out this e-letter is sort of, it's a convenient way for me to also bring together things that I think that are important for my students to learn along the way. And I guess the list is what I would hope my students to read. Sorry if I didn't include yours. But of course, there's a link to all of them for them to read others. But I think that these are not that they're not all solid comments in there, but I thought that they were making good points. This is still a challenging issue in terms of the public oversight of transportation. Major public oversight has to deal with safety, certainly when consumers are involved, because as individuals, it's very difficult for us as an individual, to have an influence to make sure things are good. But if we assemble ourselves through government, we then can have a better opportunity to to have a higher probability that things will be good. So, help out here as an individual. Most of the entities are presented by corporations or other groups that have somewhat of a vested interest. But the reason they have a vested interest is that they at least believe this is something good to do. So they, since they think it's something good to do, they of course should have an opportunity to make sure that thing that they give is really good, and let's make it so it's really good. So great.
And we don't know how long the process is going to be until this uh, gets acted upon, I suppose, at NHTSA.
Yes, and hopefully that there are at least some jurisdictions that will say, hey, go ahead and do this while we're getting all of our ducks in order and in line, so that everybody, or a greater portion of the folks, can have that available. And certainly, California has stepped up and said, hey, in San Francisco and the Bay Area and in LA and San Diego and who knows where else, sure, go do it. Looks like the folks in Texas have done the same thing. Looks like the folks in Florida have done the same thing. Looks like the folks in Georgia have done the same thing. I sort of wish the folks in New Jersey would do the same thing. Uh, they've got a lot of things to do. So whether or not this is going to percolate to the top, Anytime soon, who knows? But at least there are some places that have said, my goodness, the risk reward trade-off here is uh, there's a lot more reward than there is risk. And so those places are saying, hey, go for it, I guess.
Timothy Lee has a piece that you include here in the newsletter headlined Waymo just revealed a crucial statistic for scaling its technology. And that is at any given time, it has about 70 remote assistance agents on duty worldwide. And that's for 3,000 Waymo vehicles. And you have a comment here. You're agreeing with Alex Roy that this validates AV fleets as a business model and indicates Waymo Driver is at least 40x safer than humans. Go into that for us and explain that.
Well, yeah, I think I threw in the 40X, but Alex Roy did provide Timothy with that statement, and it is um, a very substantive statement, at least to me, because this isn't whatever number of vehicles operating in some laboratory under some strict test, da da dee, da da da, whatever that, and so on, which, of course, part of the comments associated with what's kind of tests, what are the tests that NHTSA is going to put up, that the hurdles that such a thing has to pass over such that it can be deemed safe. And of course, it'll never be safe because nothing is safe. That's in the limit as whatever time goes to infinity. That's an aspiration. There's risk in everything. And I've said it many times here. I say to my students all the time, the beauty about the future is that it has risk and uncertainty associated with it. If it didn't, it'd be boring. I mean, in some sense, it really wouldn't be worth living. I mean, yipes. But that's what makes it not only exciting, it makes it difficult, it makes it challenging, and I guess it keeps our juices flowing. Otherwise, what do you sit there and whatever? So, so yes, there are risks. The issue is what's the relationship between the reward and the risk, and that's the beauty of our department in operations research and financial engineering. I mean, as a fundamental, the students are involved in trading off risk and reward, and I guess what you would like is at least the rewards at least a little bit bigger than the risk. I mean, that's what we would like. Sometimes we sort of get. The question is, with all this, my comments have focused on, yes, all the other not all, I guess, but essentially, large part of all the other comments deal with the risk part of this and trying to reduce the risk. But I, at least philosophically and politically and emotionally, I feel that we should be trading off risk and reward. You really can't talk about risk unless you also talk about reward. And of course, you should be comparing apples and apples and making sure that, you're kind of making the right comparison, because in the end, you're going to, it's a sort of a rank order. Which one's 51 and which one's 49? And of course, you'd like it to not be 51, 49. You'd like it to be obvious. Reward's much greater than risk, or the risk is much worse than the reward. Then you know not to do it. Makes decision making straightforward and trivial. And I think that the key to what Timothy points out, which was a real embarrassment for Waymo in the hearings, but it's then substantive to the safety question, is the oversight control centers that they have, because these aren't autonomous vehicles, even though they're called autonomous vehicles. They're told what to do. They're told, basically no earlier than go to. Now, how they happen to do that and so on may have some autonomy associated with them as to how they execute that. But there's oversight on that. And just like the existing system with people out there, there's a whole host, there's a support structure in case, oh my good things didn't go right. I got a flat tire. I got stuck. I ran out of electricity fuel. Who knows? What happens in the future. You get, so you really need the oversight. Now you might put, an AI agent out there to do the oversight. You're going to have people overseeing the AI agent anyway. At least I believe. Are we really going to go to war and just say, or do whatever the heck you want? I mean, Napoleon didn't do that. No general has ever done that. No leader has ever done that. So, I mean, it's almost silly to even think about it. We are not going to relinquish our oversight on machines and technology. I just not as a human being. We just aren't. At least I don't know. Sure, you can whatever
Well, the numbers are
1984.
significant here, right, Alan? Because
But the numbers are significant. The key is, even though Waymo said, oh my goodness, we're employing these people in the Philippines, some of them, which was the embarrassment part. The substantive part of that was that there are only 70. That means that there are 70 humans providing mobility with that's provided and delivered with 3,000 vehicles that results in crashes that, for all intents and purposes, are essentially the same, likely even less than 3,000. Pick a random 3,000 anywhere in whatever the country, pick whatever. People providing mobility through driving. 70 versus 3,000. Same risk. 70 providing reward of 3,000 vehicles. 3,000 providing mobility reward of 3,000 vehicles. Same risk. So if you compare that, the risk involved in the 70 is 140, 147. I mean, if you want to do the arithmetic to 18 decimal places, you're welcome. It's 40x, essentially. Now, if you want to get the details of intensity and and sharpen your pencil and you'll get a couple of decimal places on the 40. But the 4 out there with another digit before you hit the decimal point, that sucker is pretty darn solid. So if you are, in a situation in which you can be the underdog. Underdog is being down. You're a real underdog if you're down 40x. And if you're trying to make a decision of which side do I want to be on, where basically it's, is there any disagreement that you would want to do the 40, not the 1? Which means these are safer and providing the same mobility. by 40x. I don't know. That's the way I fundamentally in my mind. And I think that if you go there and sharpen your pencil, you're still going to be at about 40. You aren't going to be at 4. You aren't going to be at 0.4. Chances of that are, 10 to the minus many. Oh my goodness. I mean, hit the nail on the head here. That's really what I think Timothy Lee and Alex through his comment and so on have done here. Is that, as Alex said, game over. This looks like this. Let's scale it. Boom. So that's why I probably, if it wasn't for all the good testimony and all the work that people did putting the testimony, I would have put that as a lead article here. But the amount of work and amount of effort and amount of diligence that went into the people that put in those testimonies, they're worth reading. They aren't clickbait for who knows what of most of the articles that appear in your Instagram, or I mean it's just debilitating. Next.
Terrific, Alan. You have a link in the newsletter to a piece in American Affairs headlined, "Why Are American Passenger Trains Slow?"
Well, I mean, that came across, and there are so well. Besides, I shouldn't say that. I love Timothy's article, in understanding AI, and boy, did I love this one. And I guess a lot of people that I have a lot of respect for also liked it because I guess I've played with, and I'd like to say that I basically dealt with Conrail from its conception to its interment. So, I did choo-choos at one point in my life, and so got choo-choo back here. I love choo-choos, and I just thought, what a wonderful article that just made it perfectly clear why. And it's a wonderful story. And I won't give you the punchline. It is so well worth rereading. I encourage you. So I won't give the punchline. You'll hit you over that. Wow! If you don't say wow, then write to me and say, "Man, geez, what the hell are you recommending? I mean, you're really screwy. I don't know. Let me know. I just like to know that I'm just lost. I mean, I might finally losing it. Or some people would say yodel. Never mind.
Terrific. Then you have a link to an article with the headline, "The Future of Long Haul Isn't Coming, It Is Here."
Yeah. So Craig Finder, who was a former ALK employee, love him dearly. Princeton goaltender when he was a student here. Um, has been in the industry for a very long time, sent me this because he was at a conference in in Las Vegas, in which Torque was displaying their truck. And apparently there was a long line, and he thought, oh my goodness, these guys, you know what they are? Yeah, it's really a big hit. And so I immediately wrote back, well, why was it a big hit? And then of course it became obvious from their from their very simple ad that they had, which relates to the previous article. And I don't think I'm giving away the punchline of the previous article, but it says keep the trucks moving. And if you look at the transportation or logistics challenge, it is about flow, not speed. Flow. And flow is really speed over time. And it just got me to reflect on what is the fundamental value of automation of the driving function. It is a little bit to be able to remove the driver and save the cost of the driver, because then that's your productivity numbers of that asset, and uh, revenue or net revenue per whatever that do improve because you can remove that labor cost in that. But actually, it's not really that. Okay. It's that you can keep your trucks moving. So if you're in the long haul business and you have a driver, then the hours of service rules basically say that this asset that you have of a truck and its cargo can go fast for only part of the time, whatever it is, 10 hours a day, whatever the details are of that thing. But a day is 24 hours long. The rest of the time, it has to rest or whatever. So it's Aesop's fable. The tortoise and the hare. And in some sense, the opportunity that the automation gives you to have that asset flow 24 or 23 or most of the 24 hours in a day, as opposed to just 10. Wow. A long time ago, I was given a tour of the Russian railway system. At the head of the Russian railway system, I was right after the wall fell. And they were showing me their control room in which they oversaw part of the railroad operation. And then I was taken out to one of their major hump yards and proudly shown the hump yard, in which there were all kinds of cars, wagons all over the hump yard. And I really wasn't trying to be cute or whatever. And hopefully it got translated properly. Otherwise, I probably would have been shot right there or something. I said, I'd be more impressed if there were no cars here. And I actually meant it, because I think even at that point in time, I realized that if there are cars here, that means they're not moving anywhere. They're standing here. And if we're talking about transportation, especially logistics, it's all about flow. It's all about moving the stuff. I mean, if I go into a warehouse and there's a lot of stuff in the warehouse, I'll make the same comment. There should be very little stuff in the warehouse. There should be stuff coming in and going out, stuff coming in and going out, stuff coming in and going out, stuff coming in and going out. Shouldn't be stuff coming in, get stuck there, stuff going out. Then stuff coming in, getting stuck there, stuff going out. It's all about flow. because otherwise you have to have inventory. Inventory is just overhead. You're stuck with it. It's doing no good. It's a waiting. You're paying the bank. You got to flow it. And if you're really in logistics, the thing that has to be in the back of your mind, all that is the flow of this stuff. Oh my goodness. If I automate the trucking, I can get it to flow. And it just reminded me of all this yesterday in class with Spencer Lucian of From You Flowers, where he's talking about flower business and what needs to happen on Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and so on and whatever. And we talked about, I mentioned our Mellini brothers, who basically runs tandem drivers, has for years. I hope they still do, from Miami Airport to New York, so they can flow those flowers in 24 hours. Tandem. One sleeps while one drives, so they can get the stuff there before it wilts. Because damn, if you're not flowing those flowers, you lose them. And that's not just true in the flower business, it's true in anything. And all of a sudden now you have a machine that can flow that. And you say to yourself, I've been paying a truck driver in long haul trucking, not for 10 hours of operation, actually, because that trucker, she's given me 24. She's given me her life that whole day to get the stuff from LA to Chicago or whatever. Now, I got away with just paying her for 10 and said, hey, and the other, you can do whatever you want. The hell are you going to do in a truck stop, making sure that you don't violate your hours of service? Now with automation, I can ask no more from you than I've asked from before, but I double my productivity because I move, and instead of stopping, I just keep moving. Whoa. Hey, maybe I could get the whole thing out of you by, not having you in there at all. But my goodness, I probably need you because there's all sorts of other information. There are all sorts of other things you could do for me while you're there. Plus, you're taking care of it. And if something really happens, you can fix it. Stuff that I didn't anticipate. And boy, are you earning your keep. On demand, when I need you, as opposed to no, and then no, no, and then no. Whoa. That's what those folks must have seen. That's what if they saw that, whoa, whoa, if that's what Torque is selling, great. Aurora, if you're selling that, great. Sorry, I didn't pay attention to what you were doing before. It's fantastic. And now, put some great accommodations in that cab so that, the person can have, some joie de vivre while the machine is doing, keep me between two white lines and don't crash. Keep me between two white lines and don't crash. Keep me. Can you imagine what somebody has to put in their body to be able to do that for 10 hours and not die? Perfect thing for a machine. How do you like that one?
Very good. I guess we can make that part of the midterms.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, no, hey, the students get it.
Yep.
They get it. why has Fermi Flowers been so? Why? Because boy, they get stuff in motion. It was really important. Those things, but I guess everybody knows that that's in the business. So I'm not telling anybody anything they didn't know. It's just that now that really the risk is not all that. You know, it's like 40x on your side. Man, we as a society should take advantage of that because the productivity improvement in the logistics leads to wins on the asset utilization side, which means that the cost of goods sold reduces, which means you can lower the price or make more money. With competition, and everybody wins. Whoa! You create more jobs. Seems intuitively obvious to the most casual observer to me, but of course, I'm Mr. Wacko.
Well, we know you've been tied to the trucking business and the trains, and now let's talk about space.
Ah, we might as well go to the full gamut, man, right? Well,
NASA
don't get
news, changing the Artemis plan, shifting the first lunar landing of the Artemis era to Artemis 4. I think I read that Elon Musk is shifting his goals to the moon rather than Mars too.
every once in a while you got to pivot. There's nothing wrong in pivoting as you learn, and you say, maybe I should do this. I mean, the interesting thing, and Jared, as he makes the argument. I mean, it's absolutely interesting looking back at the launch cadence. Going back almost to Vanguard. Uh, Certainly through the whole Gemini, Apollo projects, and so on. The launch cadence by NASA was, every 3 months. Launch cadence on Artemis is every 3 years. And so the question is, as he puts it, if we lost muscle memory in between because we're not launching it, we're not. You expect to learn things out of all of these cadences, and you don't expect to necessarily solve everything. It'd be nice, hey, one shot, boom, done. Hey, yeah, right. I mean, even with AI, we're not that good. And there's no AI anyway. So, we're not that good. In fact, we tend to learn more by failing than we do by success. So in some sense, we have to build failure into the system because that's the tuition we pay. Students on exams learn more from questions they missed than what they made. Of course, they already knew what they got right, so therefore they're almost by definition you're learning only through the mistakes. Otherwise, you don't learn anything. So that's why I got to make the exam so that they don't get them all right. I got to make sure they get 50% of them right. Just deal with their heads so they don't think they're total losers. So 50% is a giveaway. Now we start the second half. Whoo. And then the last piece, whoo. And you got to be really good. Whoo. That's when we have real fun with them. But anyway, and I guess the next one is that I put in there is his interview on CBS. It's just, boy, it's nice, for someone being that's interviewed as someone that's forthright and bright and just answers the questions and is as opposed to reading some AI prepared press release. I mean, it's just so I'm so pleased with the leadership of NASA that Jared got the job, and I guess we should all be happy whatever taxes are being put in that one. And please don't look at who's head of Department of War, Princeton grad. Never mind.
Well,
If I get arrested by the ICE, you know why.
that's right. You're
Uh,
an immigrant.
I'm a foreigner, so I'm done and I'm gone.
Alan, you mentioned your students. We're anticipating a compendium of findings by your students from, I think, last semester, right? With
Yeah, I know,
findings
but
on news.
darn it. I mean, they haven't finished it. I'm keep putting that in there, and then they haven't finished it, and that's the next semester, and now it's last semester, and students. Problem with students is they disappear on you because they then have other professors they have to kowtow to. So I may be a loser. I may have to pull that one at some point.
Well, also in the newsletter, there's a new image at the bottom that people may notice.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I decided you got to put something new in there. So I decided to put a picture of an old guy giving another old guy a ride. So, I
That
mean,
relates to the update on handy rides, I suppose to
well,
say.
I don't know if it's an update on handy rides, but Catherine Freund will certainly appreciate it since she's been doing that very well for 30 years. I'm just, learning my way here. And it's amazing how when we get to this point, how much we need help in just getting, from A to B. And, while driving may have been fun and easy a while ago, at least for me, it ain't no mo. And, at least I have the good fortune of being able to say, I'm not driving anymore simply because I got a machine there that in so far has really worked for me, and so I don't, and it does it better than I do it. So, and maybe that machine will then start doing these podcasts and these casts, and then I
Wait a
won't
minute, wait a
have
minute,
that.
wait a minute.
I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll have AI do it. Claudette will do it. Whatever.
On that note, Alan, that's going to wrap up this edition. You can find more and the newsletter at smartdrivingcar.com. You can find my tech reports at techstination.com. Thank you again for taking the time to watch or listen, and please stay safe.
Thank you, Fred. Have a great day, folks.